Hello, everyone. Welcome to Inevitable. This is a doomed Arthurian Western sponsored by SoulMuppet Publishing. I am Stell Luna. I will be your game master for today. Before we jump into the game, I would like to invite you to check out Inevitable's Kickstarter, which is currently live. It is live for only a few more days, so please head on in there, give us some support, check it out, and please enjoy the show. Before we jump in, I would like to introduce everyone at the table with me, all these fantastic performers joining me here today. So please tell me a little bit about who you are and where we can find you. And give us your best yeehaw. And we'll start off with Lexi.
Hello, my name is Lexi, otherwise known as the Black Girl Mage. You can find me on Twitter and Twitch to that same exact name, where I am a dungeon master, a game master, a writer, a thinker, and all of those things, a hype person. The internet is my Wild West, and my best yeehaw.
I love it. Very good. 10 out of 10. Fantastic. Thank you so much. We'll head on over to Edward.
I am Edward. You can find me on Twitter at Edward_Spence_. I'm a general GM for hire, and you can soon find me. It's not been announced yet, but it's fairly obvious at this stage. Next Tuesday over at the Wounded Warrior Project at WWP. It's an incredible cast. We've got R.I.P. Mika, we've got Red Witchery, we've got Daytune, we've got Sam. We've got Yellow Spoon Girl. It's going to be a real good time using the Tales from the Loop system. Very excited about that. And you can also catch me as a player, increasingly more and more, but specifically on a Wednesday over on Captain Robert. It is also 1 a.m. here, so I'd usually give a whooping and a hollering yeehaw, but I won't because I've got neighbors, so instead I will just simply say yeehaw.
Thank you. Fantastic. We'll head on over to Hot Goof.
Hello, my name is Andrew. I'm Hot Goof on Twitter. I'm half of a indie TTRPG designer company, Nighthouse_Co. You can find that on itch.io. This is my first time doing anything like this, so forgive me if I'm dipping my toes in a little too tepidly. Yeah, I think that's everything. Here's my best yeehaw. Yeehaw!
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
I want everyone to know that all of these yeehaws are improvised. I did not prepare my cast to give them time to get their yeehaws ready. So this is pure quality, raw content for everyone. I hope you're enjoying it. But last and certainly not least, the Noir Enigma.
Hello, everybody. I'm Noir. You can find me all over the place as the Noir Enigma. I am a TTRPG streamer, aspiring game designer. I host a couple of shows. I'm just happy to be here with this fantastic crew. Let's see what trouble we can get into and ask for yeehaws. Yeehaw! Stay ready so you ain't gotta get ready.
Oh my god. I am blown away. All right.
I'm so sorry. I promise I'll stop.
You literally are. I legally must ask you to stop.
Whoa. Man, I was getting ready for stream earlier today and I was like, I should set up a bunch of like sound cues so I can be cool, but I don't need to be cool. Nars here. Nars coming back. All right, so we shall begin our doomed Arthurian Western. We begin on the dust-bitten, sand-blasted realm of the Crown Lands. As the camera begins to zoom in between half-rotten fields of oats and wheat, pitiful fringes of civilization, we maneuver between the sand rock mountains of the cradle and approach these gargantuan structures on the edge of the far wastes. Welcome to the border forts. The far wastes were once a duchy of myth, but now is a rebel state, ruined by its ruler, the cannibal saint. Years of war and atrocity have left the citizens desperate or dead. Members of the Endless Horde wander its dry and dusty land, awaiting for the command to march on Myth, the final civilization of this dying world. As we wisp on over into the border forts, there is a single squat building amongst the ruins of this once formidable place. Between the half-buried gravestones outside of this salted wooden building, we find a set of doors. And within the doors, we find two salt and peppered, weathered men leaning against a dirty bar. They are sipping away at some foul, dark gray concoction. It's enough to pass through the gut like oil, and it'll clean you straight to the soul. It's what you need these days to keep yourself afoot, to be honed and ready for anything. It's only a matter of days, weeks, who's to tell, before the cannibal saint brings upon the final battle to Myth and the Crownlands. As the two chat away idly, they look over towards the door. They can hear some sort of disturbance, mutterings that there are strangers approaching the border forts. They don't bother themselves with rising. It isn't often that people will come through to join the border forts, but we joined them. Can you tell me who will lead this cadre of misfits and wanderers? Who is at the forefront of the four of you?
I'm probably towards the back, if that narrows it down.
We'll start with you.
Okay.
What do we see as the Sidewinder enters the border forts?
Well, the first thing you see is a fairly gnarled, wrinkled hand feel out the frame of the door, before another joins the other side, feeling round the walls as he slowly enters. And you see a very frail, skeletal individual. He has very wrinkled and gaunt skin, albeit tanned and peeling from days and weeks underneath the beating sun above. He has a long black coat, scaled by the looks of it. It looks almost like snakeskin, but the scales on it are much, much larger than any snake you would find. The clothes underneath are fairly simple, dust-bitten, grey, and you can see that there is a rusted breastplate underneath. And over a scraggly, wiry, grey-white beard that is stained brown around the mouth, presumably from inordinate amounts of cigarette and pipeweed smoked. There is a wide-brimmed hat, and underneath this, round black glasses. And slung over this individual's back there is a very, very long parcel wrapped round and round and round in dirty old rags that hangs in a loose loop around his chest. He is very clearly blind as he walks in.
Excellent. As we pull away from the Sidewinder, who is in front of him?
All right. Angarad the Weeper will be standing in front of him. Angarad is a very tall, about 6'2", very lanky, very skinny, and not like athletic skinny, but just kind of, this is somebody who sits and reads a lot and probably reads to the point of forgetting to take care of themselves in the way of like eating and that sort of thing. They are wearing a mixture of a knight's gambeson and a leather duster. It drapes down to the floor in black and purple. They are wearing a very light satin purple shirt and denim, black denim pants, nothing fancy. And assisting them walking is a large wooden stick with an arrowhead at the tip. But the arrowhead doesn't seem to be made out of metal, but more of a tooth type substance. Like it's like made out of a tooth. They wear their hat down to cover their eyes, but if you were able to see past that, there are scars and marks and burns. Doesn't look like acquired from combat, but more of a ritualistic scarring type. One eye, he's got two different color eyes, one gray, one brown. And he just quietly makes his way inside, attempting not to make eye contact with anyone. Can't hear you.
In front of the Weeper is Deacon? Amos?
Amos is definitely in the very back.
Oh, okay. Well, please describe to us what Amos looks like.
Amos is wearing a very, for lack of a better word, patchwork vestments. He's got like a vest and a coat, and hanging like off of his belt is like 2 or 3 hats. He likes to keep things on hand to kind of blend into whatever environment he's in. And he can tell, like, from coming in from the wastes and wearing this, like, very, like, ornate black masquerade mask to kind of cover some of his face. He realizes that maybe he shouldn't wear this because it might skeeze out some of the people around. So as he sees that we're reaching some sort of civilization, he takes the mask off. And like looks through one of the eye holes to like measure like the best place to escape in case he needs to, and puts it on his belt as well. A lot of his clothing looks tattered, but it's only because he rips and sews things as needed to get into where he's got to go. He's very secretive, very he belongs in the back is kind of his whole vibe. And in terms of just physicality, I think he to his advantage, he's an everyman. He just looks very plain. He looks like if you were to make a video game, he'd be face 1, hair 1, like body 1, outfit 1. And it works to his advantage because he just looks like he belongs no matter where he is. Except for when he's wearing the mask, which he's just taken off. But that's Amos.
Very good. And the last of our cadre is Deacon the Unraveler. What do we see?
Deacon is a sight to behold. In the face of the apocalypse, the face of dust and dirt all around her, you see a woman standing not taller at all than the rest of her crew, probably shorter than the rest of her crew. Hair in twists with pink and yellow ribbons kind of intertwined in it with golden chains and loops in it. You see she has like this jagged nose, very got into a fight, let it heal situation. Her eyes are wide open, big, bright brown orbs, but she's got very tired, like bags underneath, and even with dark, close to like pitch black skin. She just has a complexion around her that like absorbs the sun. It's a very wonderful dark brown. She wears a white I'd say like a blouse with fringe on the front, and a black leather jacket. And you see that on the black leather jacket seems to be split in half. And on the back there seems to be like a sun and moon, but instead of being painted in white and yellow or whatever, the sun is yellow and the moon is pink, and they balance and offset each other on this jacket. You also see that she has like a black corset around her waist, black jeans, but as your eyes drift down, you will see one yellow boot and one pink boot. And you see also a pink bandolier with bright yellow bullets strapped in them. And a wonderful gun that you will, hopefully, people don't keep their eyes on it long because they hope to never be acquainted with it.
Very good. As the four of you enter into this humble tavern, you feel the weight of the eyes shifting in your direction. The two old men by the bar look over each other, then to you, over their shoulders. A very slight movement. Very low effort on their part. You find the establishment mostly empty. The tender behind the bar acknowledges you with an up nod. A sign of make yourself comfortable. You know that you are here to meet with the commander of the border forts. They do not seem to be here yet.
Okay, I think that this means we can settle down a little bit and find a booth. Maybe get a drink if we want.
Soon, that's gonna be on you. And the Sidewinder just reaches out a hand, just reaching out for the tables, and slowly guides himself down into a seat.
Yeah.
It is all the same to you.
Deacon absolutely just sits wherever the Sidewinder just determines a seat is, and if there is someone there, she will glance at them and glance down at her gun and make sure they know we're deciding to sit here now.
Yeah, you see this wiry-looking androgynous person, and they are seated back with their feet up on the table, and you can see it's caked in mud and dirt. And upon seeing you, Deacon, your gun, they immediately just scramble up, tip their hat to you, and wander off, dragging their drink, and it scrapes metal against wood as they heft it up.
Have a seat, say to my friends.
Amos is going to take a chair from another table that nobody's using, and he turns it around like kind of like the cool teacher sitting backwards, but instead of doing that, he sits down the right way and just kind of like keeps a beat on everybody else, but puts like one elbow on the table and like diverts his attention between like the cadre and the rest of the bar just to make sure nobody's pulling any fast ones.
I think the Weeper is going to, before taking their seat, find another table that already has their drinks. It just very calmly take the drinks from their table and bring them back to ours.
Yeah, you see a pair of clearly soldiers. They are wearing plate mail armor and bear the king's colors. They seem to be in the midst of a conversation, not paying much heed to you and your cadre. But upon witnessing this, what in the name of the king? Excuse me, who do you think you... And they kind of trail their eyes over towards the table and seeing the group of you in a whole... never mind.
Was. Just bring them drinks over to the other table.
Yeah, the drinks here are pretty standard fare. You know that any kind of luxury is very hard to come by outside of the court of the boy king Rubain. Things of any kind of quality are kept in myth itself, and anywhere else you're grabbing scraps, more or less. There's only 1 or 2 pieces of dirt floating in these drinks. They are a murky brown-gray color. Whatever it is, it will hit you in the side of your head, but it's not going to go down very easily.
Is there water here, or is that all right for me to ask? Am I stupid in assuming that there's not at least some dirty water around here? I could use some dirty water.
Any water you will be drinking will be shared with donkeys and mules and the like. But you're welcome to check out back, I would imagine.
Never mind. And Amos picks up one of the dirty things of beer, and he takes out a little needle from his inner jacket and, with dexterity, picks out the little pieces of dirt one by one, almost as if he's skewering enemies. And then once he sees that it looks good enough to drink, takes a couple sips to quench his thirst.
It doesn't take any measure of perception to hear the voices at the bar, the 2 old men who keep stealing glances over at your table. Yeah, well, I heard that one there with the bandages on their face. They slayed a dragon. No way, I don't believe it. Well, look at the scales. That couldn't be any old lizard.
The Sidewinder just sort of leans back and kicks his spurs against the floor. And the rest of you have noticed this is something he does when trying to get a lay of the land, using the sound of them to kind of feel his way around a little bit. And as he starts to reach in for some tobacco and just slowly roll up a cigarette, he looks in your direction, Deacon.
So, what is it exactly that you are?
What am I after? What am I doing here? What are we doing here? I think we all know just how bad the border forts need us.
But, your title is an interesting one. I was just wondering how you came by it. You also have a light, by the way, Mr. Weeper.
I think it would absolutely be a little presumptuous of me to tell you that story so early. Ask me later when I'm a little bit, well, I feel like today's the day I'm gonna get a little wild. So ask me a little later when I'm wilder.
Is that right?
Today feels lucky.
As you say that, you hear the of the doors swinging open, the sound of heavy footfalls, as a rather trim and well-presenting individual makes themselves known. You see who is visibly the commander, wearing the appropriate rank on their shoulder in a leather patch over rusted, spotted armor that has seen many battles, is this older man. You see that he has a spot of gray on either cheek, and some of it bears these nasty pink scars of where he must have taken the blow of some beast many, many years ago. His blue eyes scan over the crowd, immediately clocking you, but also beyond, over towards the individuals that had left your table and the ones that are speaking lowly of you at the bar. And as he does, you feel a shift in the air. There's a sort of stiffness, a sort of tension that rolls in with him. The individuals at the bar grow quiet. The people in the booths turn away and lower their heads towards their drink. And the commander, Korth, begins to move over towards your table.
Amos is gonna dip into his pocket, pull out a little bit of like gray powder and dust it into his beard a little bit, just to match the guy's energy, and kind of moves his body facing him in a manner of respect, as if the show is about to begin. And he just prepares to receive this man.
Commander Korth comes to a stop at the edge of your table, does not seem to move to sit, and looks to the group of you. Welcome to the border forts. May I ask who is in charge of your cadre?
Awful presumptuous to think that there's anyone here claim themselves as leader.
And
You see this very tired gray man look over at the Weeper, then to Deacon, and he sighs. It has been unfortunate that we recently lost the previous commander, Sir Catherine the Tall. Is it all right if I sit down with you?
we just don't have a lot of space in this booth, really.
All right. You see him shift on his feet. You can tell just by his disposition here that he is not really a people person. He looks over the group of you individually, but does not maintain eye contact for long. Keeps turning his eyes, much like Amos had more attention towards the surroundings than the people he's talking to. And he says, well, I need the group of you to head out to the Crownlands and seek out information about the Gourmand. We know that the Gourmand is responsible for the death of Sir Catherine the Tall. Last known whereabouts, Crownlands, moving about with a group of 4, 5 perhaps. We know that he is in league with the Cannibal Saint. If you can take out the Gourmand, or at least apprehend him, then not only will we be able to honor and bring justice to Sir Catherine the Tall, but you will be doing a service to your king.
Is this all we know about him, or do we have any other information whatsoever, or just that they've killed our mutual ally?
You hear a cough at one of the booths aside, and Korth looks over, casts a glance, then back to you. Well, the Gourmand is giantkin.
Oh. So
You will
Figured.
find most things that are not weapons will become weapons on a field of battle with the Gourmand.
So if you don't mind my asking, is there any real expectation that we'll bring this fella back alive? Because I don't work in bringing bodies back warm.
Well, you will hear no complaints from the people here. The Gourmand has been terrorizing the border fronts for quite some time.
I smelled freshly dug dirt outside. I can only assume you lost folk. More than just Lady Catherine.
We are always losing folk out here. Fighting against the endless hordes is our charter.
Probably shouldn't have named them endless hordes. That sounds like an impossible task.
Well, you have heard the prophets. The doom is coming, and I think it's actually quite appropriate.
Taking things a day at a time, always and forever.
Just out of character, I'm sorry if you had said this previously. Do we know where the Gourmand is / what direction the Gourmand is in, or is that something that like are we in the hunt for them?
It's the Crown Lands, I believe.
Crown
Mhm.
Lands.
Yes.
Got it.
So you should have available to you in our splash page here, and for chat, it is below. We have a map. We are currently towards the top part of the map at the border forts, and essentially the forts here create a division between the far wastes, which is home to the endless hordes, and the Crown Lands, which you know to be home, the last place of civilization, myth.
Cool.
And from
Thank
what
you.
the commander is saying, the Gourmand has gotten through the border force and is rampaging around in the Crown Lands, perhaps trying to seek the favor of the cannibal saint, the natural enemy of myth and humankind, really. Now, we don't really have many provisions that I can offer you, but if you need bullets, I think I can find a few.
Well,
Ooh,
that-
that would be great. Any food or water?
There's a wry
Anything like that?
cackle that comes from the bar from the two old men. Food? Well, they're definitely not from around here. They think that we have food. I consider jerky to be food. Barely anything but salt here. And the commander looks over briefly at them, then back to you with a regrettable look.
All right. Where might this jerky be, and how much of it can we have?
The commander straightens, gestures over to the bartender. They share a nod, and he looks back to you, Deacon. I'll make sure that you have something to fill your pockets when you head on out.
And I suppose money means nothing to us anymore if the doom is coming, but if money means anything to my companions, possibly.
Of course. As this is an edict given from the king, it is only appropriate that you are compensated as such.
And I can be compensated in the bullets. I'm perfectly fine with that, but they might need a little bit more.
Very good.
I only require one thing. Do you know of whom I serve, sir?
He looks you up and down. Do you bear any symbols?
I'm gonna say one of the scars is the symbol of the Lady of the Sling.
I do not recognize the symbol of your god.
It's not necessary for you to understand my God, only that you understand this. Is there anyone in the vicinity of the creature that we hunt that you would miss?
No. Anyone that has aligned themselves with the Gourmand has aligned themselves with the cannibal saint, therefore are an enemy to all of our people. These are trying times, and they seek to be opportunists in the worst possible way, eating of the meat of men.
I need you to be real sure about that, because we pay our tithes and corpses, and our prayers take the shape of the wailing of those that remain. So if there's somebody there that you will miss, best tell me now.
We were unable to find the body of Sir Catherine the Tall. It would be assumed that they were consumed, but perhaps if you do find Sir Catherine the Tall, that is my only request.
I'll do what I can. I tend to lose myself while I'm praying.
Well, I hope at the very least that the four of you find your way back.
One last question. Do we know why they call him the gourmand.
Let's just say that he has an appetite.
Copy.
Wicked pleasures. Well, if there isn't anything else, then I'll let you be on your way. We have a few horses that have been saddled and prepared for you. They are at the stables whenever you are ready.
Thank you kindly.
Good to me.
It is unfortunate that you do not have amongst you a knight, but these are trying times. Good luck to you.
I reckon the work we do ain't fit for the eyes of honorable men.
Honor is so hard to come by these days.
I am of the belief that if you look hard enough, you can find honor in those places. Long live the king. Good luck.
Long live the king.
Long live the king.
The Sidewinder takes a drag of his cigarette.
And without any other word, the commander slips away.
So, speaking of the king, Amos, was it?
Yes.
Full of rumors, I suppose.
I think you'll find, we brought up currency earlier. I think that the best currency is, information, reputation, and I find that a lot of the times when those are intertwined, you can find yourself a very rich man.
Is that right?
I don't give rumors out for free, I guess is what I mean to say there. Why do you ask?
Well, I'm just wondering, because it seems you'd be best suited to answering this question more than the rest of us, but how is the court of the king looking these days?
I think that you've touche'd Amos. I don't want to say necessarily that he's always composed, but he always has the semblance of somebody who's composed. And I think that he kind of blushes in like a really weird way in response and says, I think that anything that you think of the king is probably true of the king. We can leave it at that.
A diplomat.
He's sweating, like his hands are sweating. It's the one thing that he hates talking about.
You know, Sidewinder, it's very interesting. I find, though information is very helpful, another kind of currency that really makes it a long way in these parts is bones. And buttons and little tiny things that shimmer. If you give them to any small crow or raven, they'll follow you around and make you their friend. And ravens speak truth. And what they have to say of the king, nothing positive, my friend. Nothing positive.
Seems we're at a table of non-believers. Save for you and your god, Weeper.
Lady of the Slain. The only goddess that speaks the truth.
Right.
I see the doubt in your eyes. I can persuade you with just a simple question. When as the... Oh, go ahead.
Wait. No, you go.
He's just gonna say, when has the world ever changed without a little bit of bloodshed?
The Sidewinder smiles and just pulls down his black glasses, and you see the empty holes in his sockets.
You can look into my eyes.
And he pushes them back up.
The lady says that the eyes are the windows to the soul. I wonder what that makes you.
Wide open, my friend. Wide open.
Careful what you let in.
You can hear the fringes of a conversation happening just beyond the threshold of the door to this place. You see that the commander has not made much distance from here. He's having a hurried conversation with someone, another soldier, properly dressed, and the soldier points right at you, Deacon. The commander looks back, seems thoughtful, and he pushes the door open and begins to approach the table again.
I stand up to meet him and, meet him in the middle of this place.
I have been informed that you are Deacon the Unraveler.
Is there something wrong with that?
No. Your reputation precedes you, in fact. One might be able to call you capable. In fact, I think that perhaps we might consider this a promotion of some sorts. I have something that I need you to please investigate. Beyond the Gourmand, we have recently been assaulted in Fort Creek to the southwest. If the rumors are true and you have, in fact, completed the deeds you have done, then I think you are more than formidable for this task. You and your crew.
Any word on who did the Fort Creek assault?
Yes, indeed. Creek was sundered in a recent battle by Rangvid the Decrepid, a false knight that follows the saint since their days in myth. A betrayer of sorts. He acts as an emissary and courtier. Some say that he is half undead.
Well, as long as half is alive, I think that means I'm pretty sure I can kill him, no matter what. Undead, though. And a betrayer. This very strong, very, very strong characteristics. It makes him a bit easier to find.
If you have indeed killed one curse eater, then perhaps you can do it again.
I'm sure I could. And I'm sure I can.
Well, consider your reward doubled.
Wow, 2 bullets.
He seems unsure of how to respond to that. The entire time he's having this conversation with you, it's very serious. It's very uncharismatic, just direct, looking straight at you.
I have a question, actually, Stella,
Yes.
about how this game works. So, with my words, my special words, do I need to be using my gun to invoke them?
No, in fact, you can use your words any way that you like. You can roleplay them however you want at all times.
Okay, and I can use them whenever, right? I just have to roll?
You don't even have to roll. So the only time that we roll in this game are essentially going to be for challenges and showdowns, right? And challenges are essentially these small conflicts, these small resolutions that we have to make in a quest. Mm-hmm. We are currently giving you a quest, and the quest will essentially be head on over to Creek, deal with the problem. Find the Gourmand, deal with the problem. And when you complete these quests, you will get special tokens called showdown tokens. And at the very end of the game or the session, we are going to have a showdown where those tokens become relevant. So essentially, the little things that you do along the way will help pan out for the final fight. So yeah, the only thing about the way that magic works here is that you have learned these words and you're able to invoke their names. And by studying the words, building these relationships with the words, that's basically the only framework. So whatever your interpretation is of that and how you've come to embrace and perhaps gain control of these entities, these elements.
I think with him not being able to interpret my words, what I do is that I smile a wicked smile that does not reach my eyes, and I laugh a little bit and like clasp his shoulder, like reach forward and clasp his shoulder and say, "Come on, you can be a little bit more lighthearted. Let's get some truth in here." And I think I'm trying to, for a moment, my outfit becomes all yellow, like completely yellow, and someone stands over my shoulder and they are wearing completely all pink, and you see like a sort of lighter skinned girl, freckled, with bright blue eyes and wild brown hair and an afro, and she's frowning so heavily. Actually, no, she's smiling the same, and it's like I am stealing her smile, which is why it doesn't reach my eyes. And I'm trying to invoke my power word of truth, and I want to know if he thinks we can complete these missions, and 2, if there's any more information that might help us in our final hour kill Gourmand or kill Rangvid.
Okay.
Just anything he might know of, like an Achilles heel or an allergy. I don't know. Anything.
Okay. Yeah, absolutely. So I can give you the first for free, and the second I think would be appropriate for a challenge here. Nice. So we're going to have our first challenge. So as I mentioned, the 2 major mechanics of this game are going to be challenges, which will give you showdown tokens, and then we have the showdown at the very end. So to build up your challenge, I actually have a button for this.
Yeah.
We are going to build a dice pool. This is a dice pool system. Sorry, I gotta fix that. Okay, so we are gonna build a dice pool with a D6 collection, essentially. Mm-hmm. So when you're rolling your pool, you will take the highest result out of all of the numbers. So building your dice pool, do you have a reputation that you want to invoke here?
Oh, no, not yet. I'm gonna save it.
Okay, so just to explain what everything is, underneath everyone's names here on the screen, you will see that they have various keywords underneath their names. These are their reputations that they have chosen to start with. Reputations can change over the course of the adventure as it becomes narratively appropriate, but these are essentially resources that they can call upon. Sometimes it's positive, sometimes it's negative, sometimes it's going to take away from you. You are able to invoke them, to use them in that moment, but when you do, you cannot replenish it until the end of the showdown, when the showdown finishes. So for the effect of this one shot, you can only use them once. Okay, so we will not do the reputation. Do you have any equipment that could help you here in casting your spell, essentially?
Does my wizarding reputation count as equipment? A tool that will help me in this moment?
I would say if your particular brand of magic requires a physical material of some kind, whether you're touching something, that might be appropriate. Define that for me.
Oh, I don't think I am in this moment.
Okay.
Outside of maybe my hand is on my gun, but I don't think that like I'm using it. I think it's just a comfort thing.
Okay.
But I'm also not trying to be threatening, so I feel like putting my hand on my gun isn't the best thing to do. So I'll say there's no equipment.
Okay, that's fine. All right, a D6, if you explain how you put yourself at risk to succeed, So it isn't a good thing to be using magic on people. There is always going to be a risk when you do that.
Yeah. I do think, like, he knows what I can do, but to see an invocation of this magic used on him might freak him out, might scare him, and might make him distrust me from this point onward.
Okay.
Even though it's in air quotes like promotion. So I think that the terrified nature, like the terrified mistrust, like, especially, he really needs this from me and from all of us. So I think that this might be, I think it might just be risky if he realizes the magic is being used on him.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, so that'll be an additional D6. Lose a D6 if you have a reputation that would hinder you. Absurd or reckless. I don't think that really matters in this particular moment.
Yeah.
Okay. If this task is unusually dangerous, I don't think it's dangerous. If you face this foe alone, away from your cadre, they're right behind you. You're fine. Yeah. Okay, so this is going to be an additional D6. So, roll me a 1D6.
Are we able to help at all? Just curious.
No, unfortunately not.
All right, I'll try.
Well, roll.
You can help with the consequences.
I'm not joking, I rolled a 6.
Okay, perfect. When you roll a 6, you suffer no consequence and you accomplish your task.
Oh, I want consequences.
So, you see that he looks entranced when he watches you with this. Your smile has some kind of hypnotic effect on Korth. And as he's beholding you, he shakes his head, holds it in his hand, and he says, well, I do know that, as I mentioned before, that honor is an important thing. Rangvid, though a false knight, does hold himself to a sense of honor, and to appeal to that, or to perhaps use it to your advantage, could be something of a sort. Is it warm in here all of a sudden? I just feel uneasy.
It is. It's very warm in here. Yeah.
It's getting so warm right now.
Yeah.
You might want to go outside and take a breath.
I think I will. You see him pulling at the collar of his gambeson underneath his armor.
Mm-hmm.
Well, if there's nothing else, then I will be on my way.
Have a wonderful trip and enjoy the endless horde or the wastes.
Till my dying breath. He walks off. When you had used this magic, did anyone else, like, for their perspective, did they see anything?
Oh gosh. I think it's not a magic you can notice by looking at me straight on. It's something you see out of the corner of your eye. So if you see me out of the corner, you see a girl standing to my height, just off my right shoulder, dripping in that like pink color. And it's so bright that it makes you want to look at it directly. But if you do, it almost makes you a little cross-eyed, or like makes you like have to blink a couple of times and then you lose it. So yeah, I think Sidewinder, I think you are the only person who's actually able to see me fully when I'm like this, and you do get the sense. I think you are probably one of the only, but though you are blind, you know exactly what I look like, because when I invoke my magic, I am like completely my truest form, and you see the girl and you've seen her before.
Lexi,
outside of them,
literally read my mind.
Yeah. I was like, that's exactly, Sidewinder gets it.
Very cool. So we essentially have 2 tasks here: to head to the Crownlands and to hunt down the Gourmand, and to assault Fort Creek, where the false knight has rallied troops and laid siege on what is a pretty important landmark in your line of defense.
Okay. Turn around to my team and I'll say, we should get that jerky and then we should go.
Have we made a decision on which one we doing first?
That's a
I
good
mean-
question.
I think Korth was pretty straightforward in how much Sir Catherine meant, but I would be okay chasing after that lead first, because it might give us a little bit of... Well, actually, let me look at the map. And you'll see she does not unroll the map. She just blinks. And she, I think Creek... Okay, Creek is a little bit... So I think then she'll just, like, look at everyone and say, Border Forts, it already seems like if we head there, then we can just head to Fort Creek and afterwards.
I was hoping you would say that. Keen to put a good man in the grave today.
God, I love this crew.
I'm just a blind old man. Lead me where I need to be led.
You old, but you ain't no type of blind I've seen.
You might be right. You might be right.
Right. So we'll have a little montage here. We see the group of you finishing up your drinks here, and you are given a number of provisions by the tender. You make your way over to the stables, and you're given a variety of ponies. Sidewinder, would you prefer to ride on your own, or would you like to ride with someone else?
I think Sidewinder will just hold a hill, and quite gently as well. You notice he is quite tender with the horses, and is very soft with their muzzles. And he'll slowly loop a rope around one of them, and just hold it out to the other three of you. Just not really looking in any of your directions, but just holding it out.
Amos looks to see if the other two are paying attention. And then kind of I think that because he has a light paranoia about him, he wants to make sure that he can keep tabs on everybody, and reaches out for your hand and just says, "You and I are pairing up this time, I think," and attaches it to his horse.
Well, thanks very much, funny boy.
That's a compliment for him. You've made him quite happy. He's turned around completely on you. He was once afraid of you, and now he's like, he thinks I'm funny. That's really cool.
Okay.
All right.
Yeah. Excellent. So dust kicks up as the four of you ride out of the border forest, beginning to head southeast towards Fort Creek. You see that the sun is on its way to setting. It is still high in the sky behind you and casting a dark silhouette over these dust-bitten lands. The horses heave heavily as you are carried across this dying world. You pass over the ruins of statues, the ruins of once villages. You see these perfect signposts scattered throughout, pointing to villages that no longer exist. You can smell the sickly sweet stink of meat always on the air, drifting up from the far wastes. And there's evidence of battle, recent and violent, in every corner of this world as you make your way to Fort Creek. You see it in the distance long before you approach its border. The sundered fort might have once been a formidable structure, but has been weathered down by battle and time. You see a broken tower that spills out into an untamed field of dry grass. And beyond, you can see on the edge of the horizon the salt sea, this wide, endless salt flat, where there are legends that a lake-bound Fey queen, sacred to myth, must make home. You know that the endless hordes fear the Fey Queen, and they will never cross those salt flats. So instead, they push against the border between the Crownlands and the Far Wastes. As the group of you come to a stop, you are on a hill overlooking Fort Creek. You can see that there are small campfires being set up, and what is, without a doubt, the silhouette of a corpse of a person being toasted over the flame. There are a number of soldiers below, but they don't seem to notice you.
Smells like meat.
Not any kind you want to bother with, friend.
Maybe you just don't know me that well.
Well, I'd imagine if it had to be one of us, you'd have been my bet.
And Sidewinder is just gonna get off his horse and just start like picking up bits of like dry grass and just holding it up in the air and letting it just blow on the breeze and just kind of working out a small sort of box step perimeter in the sand.
The wind is very strong to the east at the moment.
How far away are we from the guard that have not yet noticed us?
We'll say probably a mile.
A mile. Cool, cool. All right.
Yeah, everything is very flat here.
Right.
You're on the one hill. That's why they don't see you.
The one hill.
Amos is going to take out his hand crossbow, and there's like a clip on it, and he puts his mask on the end and kind of uses it as like a sight, just to focus on who he's gonna potentially try to take out whenever we approach or if we don't approach. But essentially, he's collecting information. That's what he's good at. So he's just kind of calculating all the ins and outs. Also knowing that Sidewinder is creating his perimeter. He's waiting to see. He's waiting to act. I don't think he's the one that acts first.
I think this will be a fun challenge. Let's see what kind of information you can glean here.
Cool.
So since you are at a distance, we are going to say, unless you want to do something risky to bolster your success here, then you're not really at risk for anything. So the first dice pool, I fixed it, so I can put it on the overlay now. Okay.
Hey.
Yeah, we're doing it live. Okay, excellent. So to build up your dice pool for the challenge, we are going to go down the list. Do you want to invoke a reputation?
This is for me, right?
Yes, for Amos.
I don't think any of my reputations would help me here.
Okay. Do you want to use your equipment? It sounds like you are using your mask, so we'll count that as a 1d6. If you want to put yourself at risk to succeed.
Yeah, I kind of do. I think that part of what this information gathering is he's going to fire a bolt to see if they can perceive it in any way, shape, or form. Like if they're too busy to perceive it, or if, essentially getting that audio information from a distance.
Okay, I love it. That's so cool. All right. Okay. We will now look at the detriments. Lose a d6 if you have a reputation that will hinder you. I don't think so. Deceptive, untrustworthy, desperate. I think this is fine. If this task is unusually dangerous, I am going to say that this is unusually dangerous now.
That's fine.
Well, No. It's fine. We're not going to take that away. If you face this foe alone. Okay, no. So we're going to have a pool of 2d6 here. So roll me 2d6.
Okay, gonna do it digitally.
Yeah, of course.
Hey.
That's a 7. I got a 1 and a 6. The duality of man.
All right. So for this game, you don't necessarily add the numbers together. Oh. You just look at the individual results. So you rolled a 6. You take the highest one.
Oh, amazing.
In the case that if your dice pool has 0 d6s, then you roll 2 dice and you take the lowest one of the two. But here we got a 6, so you suffer no consequences and you accomplish your task.
Amazing.
Okay. Yeah, you fire off a bolt, perhaps to the surprise of some of your companions. Maybe not. Maybe this is a signature move here. It flies with a thong through the air, and you see it perfectly land into the sand next to these soldiers. There are 4 of them. They seem to be pretty tired. They don't have an alertness about them. They don't even look at the bolt, and the bolt is only about 20 feet away from them. You see that they are more or less helping themselves to this forbidden meat, and they are chowing down.
Seems like we got the night shift working over there.
Well,
Also, sorry I didn't warn anybody about that.
oh no, it's fine. Good shot.
Thanks. Thank you.
I need to explain why I'm about to do what I'm about to do. You see, death is supposed to be beautiful. Blood is the lubricant for the cogs of the world. And what they are doing to that body, well, I just won't do. Not at all. Not at all. I would like to use a word, please.
Okay, yes. What word do you want to use, and what does it look like? What is the purpose?
I think he's going to say, hail the mother of the slain, and that is going to put out the fire and chill the corpse.
Oh, okay. I love that. Oh, man.
That's cool as hell.
That is really cool.
Absolutely wicked.
Okay.
Imagine you're eating and we can't talk about cannibalism, but like you just bite into a block of ice. Like
Yeah.
absolutely ruin your
Why are my
your day.
chicken nuggets cold? We're replacing all instances of forbidden meat with chicken nuggets.
Yes.
Chicken nuggets
Thank
cold.
It's
you.
actually crazy. In this game, the lore, it's chicken nuggets. It's insane.
Yeah.
It's written in there.
Wild.
Whoa.
Yeah, it's wild. A really bold choice. As you explain that, Amos is already like, oh, so there's a chance we're fighting in the dark, and immediately starts turning over the patches that have any bright colors on his outfit.
Very good. Okay. Yes. The Weeper. What does it look like when you cast the spell? Do we see anything particular on you? What do your companions perceive?
We're in a bit of a dusty and sandy area, and for just a moment while he's speaking the words, the dust and the sand freeze and kind of become snow near him, and his eyes both become clear and crystal blue. And I think there might even be like where he was sweating before, the sweat drops are frozen.
I love it. And just like that, as if a stiff wind cuts through the plains here, the fire goes out, and darkness falls over the expanse below you. You can hear raised voices as they begin to clamber up, and they're trying to salvage what they can. You seem to have an advantage here.
As the Weeper rather puts out the fire, and the smell of smoke becomes heavier in the distance, you just see the Sidewinder just, and hearing the voices bouncing off the various ruins, he just sighs and gets down to his knees and is going to take the large bundle off his back. It's almost as long as he is tall, and you see him just start to unravel. What you see is a very large rifle. The wooden handle is carved like a crouching leopard, while the muzzle and the barrel sort of have a copper-like look to them, a sort of dull sheen, and they are carved with inlaid scales. And the muzzle of the actual weapon itself is that of an open snake, fanged and angry. It just starts to load in a number of what look to be intricately carved bullets with a number of designs on them as he just,
Well, you just let me know when I need to start shooting now.
and he just lays down on the ground and rests the rifle on the edge of the hill.
Brand, I think you can start firing whenever you want. Just leave one alive for me so I can let them know I mean it.
You got it.
Amos sees that gun and looks at his crossbow and goes, you don't have to brag.
Not all of us can be funny.
And I wanna take first shot.
Okay. As you nestle down into the sandy grass here, the earth pushes up to meet your frame, and you feel yourself completely supported by the ground here. You line up the shot, and we see as the dying sunlight in the horizon washes over the group of you, it glints just a moment off the barrel of your rifle. You line up the shot, and that is where we're going to take our break. Please join us in doing a little stretch, grabbing some water, hydrating, and we'll be back here in just a few moments. Thank you so much for being here. And please, 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 if you haven't already, please check out the Kickstarter. You can find the link there in the chat. That is a referral link from our group here to check out the Kickstarter. So we will be back here in just a few minutes. You're back. Sidewinder. You load up the shot. We are going to consider this a challenge here. This is going to be a challenge with actual consequences at risk because you are opening it up. So when we do a challenge for real, we establish the consequence first. What you could lose if you fail this challenge. It might be physical or reputational injury that causes a temporary reputation. It could be the loss of a support of an ally, the ire of an enemy, or increase the threat for the appropriate quest. So with our quests, there is an ever-looming threat to the doom. Essentially, you must complete these quests to obey the inevitable name of the thing.
Whoa.
Whoa!
Apocalypse.
Oh, mind blown. Sorry.
So that is why it is important for us, the sad cowboy knights, to go forth and complete these quests so that we may continue to draw breath in this miserable world. Anything that works as a cost can also be a consequence. So I think for this, the consequence will be essentially the ire of the enemy. You will literally draw their attention and they will immediately attack you. I believe that this will also, if it fails, possibly bring forth the enemy that is hidden away in the fort as well. Do you agree to these consequences?
Oh, bring it on, yeah.
All right, let's build your dice pool. You gain a d6 if you have a reputation that will help you. You are ill-fated, knowledgeable, and unprincipled.
Would unprincipled count? I'm kind of shooting them from a hidden spot. I feel that's kind of playing dirty.
Okay, yeah, absolutely. You will invoke your reputation here. You will not be able to use unprincipled until after the showdown resolves. So that is 1d6. You gain a d6 if you have equipment that will help you. You are literally cocking your rifle here.
Yeah.
Okay. D6 if you explain how you want to put yourself at risk to succeed. So you can bump this up, but if you fail, it makes the threat increase by 1.
Yeah.
You can also pass if you want.
This is a one shot. Let's go big. So yeah, I think the risk is it's a very loud gun. They will immediately know where we are.
Okay, so that's 3d6. Lose a d6 if you have a reputation that will hinder you. You can be hindered by each of your reputations once between showdown. Ill-fated is going to be so juicy, but I'm going to save that for when it's going to punch the hardest. Knowledgeable doesn't apply here. Okay, you lose a d6 if this is unusually dangerous. I won't take away the d6 because they don't know you're here. And lose a d6 if this foe is, if you face them alone, away from your cadre, they're right behind you. All right, so that's going to be 3d6. Please roll for me. You need to roll at least a 6 on one of them.
Okay, so I'm rolling for 2 6s.
2 6s.
That's what's
Very
up.
good. Okay, so you will suffer no consequences.
No,
and
sorry,
accomplish-
3 6s. 3 6s and a 5. There we go.
Oh, okay. Fantastic. You only need one, but
I just want to
look at you. Look at you.
Scary.
You're so
Scary number.
scary.
Bragging.
Okay, yeah. In fact, let's make this even cooler. Tell me what this looks like as you open the shot. You can have total narrative control here. You can take out 2 of them with 1 bullet if you want, whatever you want.
Okay. So
There's 4 of them.
As the Sidewinder leans down on the sand, and you see him cock the lever of the rifle, and you see the hammer shaped like the profile of a stag's head just cock back. And you see him just sniff the air as the smoke from the Weeper's spell just rises in a pillar. And as he cradles Glattisant's touch close to him, he waits as individuals walk around the campfire. It's uncertain what he's waiting for at first, until suddenly echoes out throughout the desert, and you just see 2 bodies just slump to the ground, knocking the corpse on the spit down into the sand as well. And the Sidewinder turns around to you, Deacon.
Did I hit him?
Perfect shot.
And he just...
You
and
see
waits.
ash and smoke kicking up dust in a small, pitiful cloud as the bodies hit the floor. The other 2 wheel around and stare in disbelief. There is a moment of opportunity here. Would anyone like to do anything?
I'd like to, if the group is okay, unless somebody else wanted to go.
It's your turn, Weeper.
Okay,
Yeah,
okay,
Weeper,
okay.
go.
Weeper's cold-blooded. Noir's from the Midwest. I think I would like to have him walk down there and just gut one with his spear.
Okay. All right. This is definitely a challenge. The consequence here is that you will be in danger.
Okay.
Because you are literally walking up to them. They have a chance to melee you physically. Perhaps even grab you. Do you accept this consequence?
I accept this consequence.
All right, let's build your dice pool. Do you want to invoke any of your reputations?
Yeah, let's go ahead and use Unshakable.
Okay, perfect. All right, so that's going to be 1d6. You are using your equipment. You're using your spear here, so I'll count that. That's 2d6. Do you want to make it risky?
Yes, please.
All right. Explain how you're going to put yourself at risk to succeed. This will increase the threat for the quest if you fail.
He's not running up. He is walking and delivering a sermon as he goes over to these folks.
Yeah, you are. Okay. Lose a d6 for reputation that hinders you. I don't think so here. Unprincipled discreet. Lose a d6 if this is unusually dangerous. This is pretty fucking
Yeah, it's pretty
dangerous.
dangerous.
Yeah, okay.
It's dumb.
So you're going to go down to 2.
Okay.
Face alone away from your cadre. Okay. Is Deacon or Amos joining the Weeper?
Yeah, I think Deacon is taking care of the horses until she's absolutely needed.
I want to say that Amos... Okay, if you're okay with this, Weeper, I would love to, now that I'm dressed in all black, I would love to attempt to literally walk within your shadow.
Oh, yes, an enthusiastic yes.
Okay, cool. So you will not get the penalty for being alone. So roll me 2d6.
And I literally like right behind you, like super prepared in case something goes wrong.
That is so cool.
I want to be a little sneaky boy.
Game is very terrifying.
I rolled a 4 and a 6.
Okay,
Woo!
you rolled a 6. You suffer no
Oh, you
consequence.
can't see it. Stupid light.
I was like, what is happening?
Yeah.
That's what the guy that you just gutted saw. Just a blur. It's over. Okay. Yes. Okay. You succeed here. So we're gonna go ahead and give a showdown token to Sidewinder for that brilliant shot that you had, and then Weeper, you will win a showdown token here as well. Please describe to me what this looks like, Weeper.
After Sidewander's shot goes off, you just hear the Weeper go, "You've all been blessed today with the message of the lady. You see, you have made the foolish mistake of desecrating the holy corpse, and so I give you the gift of skipping to the end. And lo, in my shadow comes death." And I think if it's okay with you, after lo, in my shadow comes death, he guts the first guy, and then Amos just pops out and takes care of the remaining.
There's one guy left. Amos, do you want to? All right,
Yes.
we'll consider this
second-
a challenge.
The second Amos hears the spear like go through the metal of these, like, are they wearing suits of armor, I guess? Or yeah, as soon as he hears the metal collapse underneath like the spear going into it, he like immediately like kind of like 180s from behind and like tries to throw a dagger like at the last one.
Okay, so we see time slowing down as your dagger's cutting through the darkness here. We'll establish a consequence. All right, the consequence will be if you fail, this person won't die and they'll run straight at you and cause bodily harm. Okay?
Okay.
All right, do you want to invoke a reputation?
Desperate. I want to invoke desperate.
Okay, you will invoke Desperate here. Gain a d6 of equipment. Yes, you already do. Do you want to make this risky?
Nah, I think this is the opposite of like showboating or whatever. Like, I think this is just like the period to end the sentence of we came, we saw, we conquered. So yeah, it's no need to go crazy.
Fantastic. Okay, you do not have a reputation that will hinder you. The task is unusually dangerous. You're not alone. I think a 2d6 will be fair for here. So go ahead and roll 2d6 for me, please.
Here we go. 4 is my highest result.
Okay, so with a 4, you accomplish your task, but you will suffer a consequence. All right, you throw your dagger, and we'll say that it slams into the throat of this individual, and they are literally already charging forward. They bring out a club, and they smash it into your side. So you will suffer, essentially, an injury here. We'll just narratively roleplay that. So they get you real good, and it knocks the breath out of you. Perhaps you even fall over, but eventually they too crumple down onto the ground, and you can hear them gurgling on blood. Your dagger glinting in the sand here within the dark.
I think that Angarod like is surprised that I don't make any noise when I get hit. Like, it's kind of like I've tempered myself to not like yelp when I've been hit. Like, I kind of just like and like cover my own mouth as I fall down. And while I'm dealing with the pain, I see that my dagger's on the floor, and I do like a very much like a that's mine like kind of like movement with the dagger and put it back into my repertoire while I like silently kind of like hold my tongue.
Okay, yeah.
I think the Weeper's gonna offer you a hand up and go, "That's a fine tithe you gave to the lady."
I think that he's still hurting, so he's just like, thank you.
The camera will zoom back over to Deacon. You have the reins of the horses in your hand, and you are with the Sidewinder. You can see what's happening below.
Do I get the sense that either of them are in any immediate danger?
As you look around, it's pretty evident that the shot from Sidewinder was substantial. It rang out. You get the sense that you have a moment here to reposition if you like, but it is inevitable that forces will come back to this spot.
Okay. And so Sidewinder took out 2, Amos took out 1, and Angarad also took out 1?
Yes. So currently there is a dead fireplace here, campfire, and no scouts. They are all slain.
Okay. I'm just gonna look around if I can. Actually, interesting, weird question.
Mhm.
They're human, right? Like they were just having forbidden nugs.
Yes. You know that the cannibal saint does partake in these strange tastes, and that their followers do so as well. Some of them might dabble in necromancy, but they are usually human.
Okay. I am going to. Oh, jeez. I think I'm gonna pat everyone. Like, I'm just gonna give everyone a good pat on the back and be like, "Thank you for clearing this up. This place won't be clear for long. It's not gonna be empty. But for now, I can actually make use of these damn bullets that Koth gave to me. And I'm going to, if no one is alive still and I'm not in danger, horses, keep them kind of keeled and even. And I'm going to do what I always do with my bullets before they go in my gun, which is take one of the bullets out of the bullet casings on my yellow bandolier, and with the blood that is kind of like latent coming out of these enemies, I start whispering and murmuring, and I'm literally just like, the powder that I normally would use, I need like just a few drops of blood in each bullet. The bullets, once I like pack and close them back up, shells start to glow, and I will literally put each one back in my bandolier, filling it back up. And I'll just turn around and say, okay, magic here. I'm not sure just how long it's going to take everyone to come back, but this place, like I said, it will not be empty for long.
I hear you loud and clear, boss. And Amos starts. He takes the armor off of one of the dead guards. 2 have been shot in the head by Sidewinder, so he gets like a helmet from people who weren't shot in the head, and basically on the floor just assembles a new suit of armor from all of the people who have been downed here, provided I have the time to do that.
You will have to hurry up, but yeah, you can do this.
Okay, yeah. I really quickly remove all the armor off of all the people I can, like, and I say, you know, I've always wanted a chance to perform, and I think this is my chance. And basically, my plan is I want to dress as one of the guards, and not necessarily just walk in right now, but like look like the cavalry's here in a little bit, and then switch the tables or whatever, if people are cool with that.
That's some fine thinking.
Yeah.
Cool.
Mind if I try to apply a little cleverness of my own?
What are we thinking?
Well, I'm figuring these fellas have shown a propensity for eating the forbidden meat, so I would like to use a word to fill the bodies with poison.
Ooh, okay. You can absolutely do this. Tell me what this looks like as you're doing the thing.
I'm just gonna whisper into the ear of each corpse, beckon, and you'll just see, like, after whispering, He just gently rubs the cheek of each one, and like the veins go black before it returns to regular flesh color.
You are confident that these 4 bodies are now poisonous.
Is there a way for me to tap into the necromantic energy that is here and possibly do I get the feeling or sense that can I figure out which of these bodies like was possibly a necromancer?
Yeah, I think that you could probably use your word of truth here in that way. Yeah, so tell me what it looks like as you invoke a truth from a corpse.
I start humming, and it's this melody of a song everyone knows, and the second that you get, like, the second you start to hum along with it, or your mind thinks you can track the melody, I just sing some discordant note, and I will take steps around these bodies, looping them, like, looping around, and it looks like I'm looking, but truly I am, like, wrapping them in my footsteps, leaving these, like, yeah, you can't see them at first, but I will go around each body and like take a look, walk all the way around them, and it's not until the last body that I finish my melody and whisper truth. And yeah, you realize like I have made almost a lasso around each of the bodies, and I'm going to try to like squeeze them tight. And almost like push the magic, like whatever's like even just an ounce of necromantic energy out so that Angarad can use them still if they're filled with poison, possibly wield them later.
Yeah, the very last person that you encircle, all of a sudden they sit up. This is one of the people that was shot in the head. You can see that their skull is literally half missing, and they're absolutely no longer with us. It sounds as if they are choking on some kind of invisible force. They're reaching for their throat, trying to pull at something that doesn't exist. And you see that their eyes have rolled back and are completely spectral in appearance. As this happens, the person looks over towards you. And you get the sense that you can ask a question.
Because I think I'm curious if they possibly, like, wherever they're getting their source of magic from, which I assume is this cannibal saint, I think I want to know if they told him we were coming.
Okay. As you are locking eyes with this person, no one hears anything as their mouth contorts in weird, unusual ways, but Deacon, you can hear almost as if it was a voice behind you, right behind one of your ears, whispering, "We didn't even see you coming. There was no time to warn the others."
I'll smile, and they've bolted upright. I will reach out one finger with a long nail and tap them on the forehead so they fall back, since my question is used.
They collapse and they do not move.
I'll turn around and say, well, good thing he did, they did not tell anyone that we were coming, so I think if we just keep moving like this, unexpected, but also I want your career to truly take off, Amos, so whatever we can do to get you out on the front lines.
I'm already in full armor, and I'm like, and like I'm like not used to being so constricted by armor.
Yeah.
But I give you like a salute, very ironic salute.
You see the lay of the land here. Essentially, there is a path that will lead directly into the fort. You can see that the broken tower is nearby, so you can literally just walk in there if you wanted. You get the sense that this is the most direct path, and this is probably the path that reinforcements will come from. You also see that it is possible to go all the way around the tower, perhaps climb over the debris, maneuver around it, and there'll likely be an alternate, more secretive approach.
I wonder if there's a way. I'd like to invoke another word, and I'm gonna pull out my gun this time, and is this like wonderful smoking thing of cracked, almost like lava at the end of a pistol, or a revolver, that glows, and it looks like it's recently been used, but you all have not seen me fire a bullet, and I'm gonna look at Sidewinder, and also I'll point at Angarad, and then look at Sidewinder, and say, do you two want to look like him? And I'll point at Amos.
Funny you mentioned that, Deacon. I was just thinking to myself, I ain't never been no good at line or acting, so if we are to play roles, the simplest one for me, and he does this to Amos, would be prisoner.
I love that.
I think. Oh yeah, go ahead.
No, you can go. You can go.
What does Sidewinder say?
Sidewinder just sort of smiles and,
I'm happy with the way that I look, but if it's gonna help you, do with me what you will. However,
and he points uncannily in the direction of the tower. How, you are not sure, but
is there any sign of movement from that structure over there?
I will turn and look at the movement, but my gun is pointed at Angarad, and since Angarad is gonna try to be a prisoner, I think I pull the trigger and invoke my magic word Lies, and will try to make it's like a tiny little bead. It's like not a full even bullet, but it hits and it hurts, and I think I'll cover you in like the closest thing it's not going to actually affect your clothes, but I think it's going to rip and tear and make your where you're kind of air quotes tied up, make it look like it's been a while, all of those kinds of things you can easily break out of, but just cover you in a disguise.
Every time you do that, I keep thinking I'll make it to the end, but here we are.
Oh, old friend, I do have to say it's very fun I just like springing it on you at this point.
Amos looks at you do that with your gun. He looks at Sidewinder's gun and he goes, everybody's got really cool guns. I need a cool gun.
I have a spear if it makes you feel better.
It does make me feel better. Thank you for saying that.
I also have
mean
a
it,
knife.
I have a couple of those, but the gun is really, that's like the world's loudest collage on your back. I love it.
You can hear there are a number of footsteps and confused voices coming from the direction of the open path, not the direction of the tower.
Oh, sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
You're fine.
Sidewinder once again just clicks his spur on the nearest stone and...
I can take the high ground if you want to take the low.
I like that. I'm gonna like assume the position of like one of the guards and like kind of like usher Angarad in front with one of their weapons, maybe if it's a sword or something, and just kind of like point at his back and say, time for our scene. And I think we'll enter through the front just because it's less suspicious. And that way we can kind of do like a pincer if we want.
Okay. Deacon.
Yeah, this scene ain't gonna be believable if I have this, and he's just gonna toss his spear to the side and let you continue to push him forward.
Can my magic have covered the spear possibly to make it
You
into
can do whatever you want.
Amazing.
Cool.
Angarad, what would make you in this scene feel like it's like a backpack or something, or some extra weight that Amos has forced you to carry?
If it can look like anything, right?
Yeah.
Yep. Anything you want.
I'm gonna say that the staff becomes a feather in his hat.
Oh, that's
Yep.
cool.
That happens.
Sick.
That's cool.
Perfect. Me and Sidewinder we'll both take the high ground. And if need be, I can get us inside as soon as possible, as long as we can see you.
Sounds good.
Well,
So
in that case, mind giving me an arm?
and I will take hold.
Okay, so the party will split here. As Amos and the Weeper begin to head towards the main path, you can hear the soldiers rushing out. One of them looks to you, Amos, and says, "How many are there?"
I'm not sure, but I found this one all alone by some horses.
Good work. Take them straight to the Gnat.
Yep. And I go in with
They just rush past, shouting. They're investigating the spent fireplace. They're looking around.
Yeah. I say, check the horses. That's where I found this one. Check the horses. To kind
Few
of give
of them
them
are like, yeah. Mm-hmm.
just to give them kind of like a bead
Okay.
from their vantage point.
Yeah, so as you are pressing further into the fort, you can see that these are the bones of this ancient place. There seems to be some makeshift shelters off to the side, and there are more of these wicked fireplaces, and you don't focus too long on the details. You don't need to know what's cooking. And you see at the very front, dead ahead of you, in the very heart of this place, is the most lavish looking tent. It is clearly made out of a heavy silk, while all around these other settlements, these little shelters are rags. They have holes in them. They're visibly uncomfortable, and there is this stark difference between the two. You can see that whoever resides within this tent is doing so at the expense of the others, but no one is batting an eye. You can see that there's a horse posted right beside this extremely ostentatious tent. And the horse is laden in heavy armor. It is gilded, and there is a large feather decoration over the mane of it. And clearly it belongs to a knight of some kind. You see that there has been some heraldry created and mounted in front of the tent, boasting of some family you've never heard of before. Especially you, someone who has spent time at the court, you know this is not a real family. Someone has made themselves into a knight, but is unrecognized in the eyes of the boy king Rubain. And as you are moving forward, you see one of the guards holding out a hand to stop you from entering the tent. "Who's this? What's going on over there?"
I caught this schemer outside by some horses, and I thought that maybe, let me check my notes. Rangvid?
Rangvid the Decrepit.
Rangvid. I thought maybe our esteemed leader might want a word with this schemer.
I ain't telling you or your boss nothing.
I hit him over the back of the head. Quiet, you! But it's not, doesn't hurt. It looks like it hurts. I'm selling it.
They're like, ooh. They go, "All right. Keeping an eye on them. You let us know if there's any trouble, just call out."
I will let you know.
And they pull the tent flaps open, and you see that there has been a bed somehow brought here. This duck feather mattress. You are hit with a wave of perfume. You can't remember the last time you smelled perfume. Just incredibly garish. And you see, standing in front of an ornate, full-length mirror, turning around to face you, is this very heavy-set, sour-looking man. He has a wide mustache that has been perfectly coiffed and curled, and he is wearing this armor that has been clearly painted with gold and silver with these elaborate designs, and they are so out of place here. Their soldiers are eating scraps and have dirt on their faces in between the kinks of their armor. Sir Rangavid the Decrepit turns to look at you and says, "Now, who is it that you've brought here for me?" And we're going to cut over to Deacon and Sidewinder. So you are making your way towards the fallen tower. You can hear people are moving. You see Amos and the Weeper moving in. They seem to have no trouble. What's the plan here?
I think that we're just having a very pleasant conversation while Deacon invokes Laz again and makes it, I don't think they go truly invisible, but everyone that sees us immediately like turns around and cannot see, like immediately like sees and then displaces, looks a little bit to the right and then keeps moving, like cannot see us. It's not mastered. It's not a mastered spell, so it sometimes can cause issues, but I think it's something that, like, makes it so we displace any focus on us.
There's a moment where perhaps you hold your breath as they are trying to survey in your direction. They're blinking, they're rubbing at their eyes. Must be something with the wind. I think I'm seeing shadows shifting again. You need to lay off the drink. And they begin to, like, pull between the various saddlebags, and they're looking through, and they're like, is this a pink bullet, or am I just seeing things? And they're just kind of in the distance here, checking out the belongings you've left behind. We'll say that there are currently 3 soldiers around your horses, and the 2 of you are in a shadowed place with a vantage point now. They don't see you.
They like to run their mouths, don't they?
Yeah, and their hands over everything.
Well, either way, makes no difference to me. Target is a target. I'm just making it easier.
Do I get the sense that if we took the 3 of them out, we would draw more attention to the outside of the camp?
It would depend on how you do it. You wait a moment here, kind of like displaced from the main thoroughfare, and you don't hear or sense anyone else coming at the moment. It seems the 3 of them have been dispatched to investigate.
I got a shot lined up. All I need is your okay. You just tell me where to point.
I'm getting the sense that we should save our bullets, and these are kind of meaningless. Well, they are not the people that we need to be wasting our bullets on, I don't think.
All right. Where is our actor friend gone to?
They, both of our friends are inside, so I wonder if there's some way we can find our way in there as well.
Very possibly. I'm gonna need you to lead the way.
Anytime. I find it quite interesting. How did you know that this building was over here earlier?
Just kicks his spur against the nearby wall and just...
Intuition.
Well, I hope one day to be more like you in that way.
No, I wouldn't wish that on anyone.
I think she holds out an arm and reaches for you.
Even need prompting. He just
Yeah.
reaches and pops his palm on yours.
Amazing. And I think I'm gonna try this like displacement trick to try to get us in the fortress.
Okay,
Or in
yeah.
this fort.
Absolutely. Some options here. Essentially, if you want to like displace yourself to the top of the tower, you could. The tower is very unstable though, so it is dangerous. You could perhaps displace yourself through the wall, but you don't know what's on the other side. Or you can continue to walk down following the wall and try to see if there's another entrance.
I think I say something to Sidewinder, like, do we need a lookout point from the top, which seems a little shaky at the moment. Should we just go inside, or should we look for another entrance?
All I know is up close, I ain't much use. You need me at range.
All right, then. I think I'm gonna try to displace us inside up top.
Okay. Very good. What does it look like as you start this spell?
I think. Oh my gosh. I think that there is just like fireflies and ravens swirling around us in the pitch. Like it's nighttime, right?
Yeah.
So like pitch black. You just hear. I think Sidewinder hears the beating of wings, and probably somewhere like can also maybe, yeah, can feel the beating of wings, hear it, and then there's just like also light mixed in with the darkness. And as we walk, this vortex of wings and light eats us up, and we appear at the top, and the birds like fly off, almost like they've just like given us a lift.
Excellent. At that, we'll cut over to the Weeper and Amos. The two of you behold the false knight Rangvid. They look like they might be tasty. They suck on their fingers.
Oh. I do my best to not physically recoil. And I say, I think that there might even be some more tasty morsels outside. I've sent the rest of the troop to go look, but I think maybe you should question this one to see if there's some conspiracy against your knighthood, your knightliness. He would definitely say that better. but Andrew, the person who's not in this universe, does not know how to say it better.
That's totally fine, because what we'll do is we'll do a challenge here. You are
Cool.
trying to do something difficult. The risk and consequence here is that if you fail, Rangvid will see through your deception and realize that this is a trick, which will inevitably be a raise to alarm.
Cool.
Okay? Let's build your dice pool. Do you want to
Let's do
invoke one of your reputations?
Deceptive.
Okay, very good. Do you have equipment that will help you?
I'm wearing the armor, and I have Engarad as my prisoner, which is not
Okay.
equipment, but I'm sorry I referred to you as...
me. No, it's fine.
Okay. Do you want to do it risky?
Yeah.
Okay.
I think that the risk is I'm also like one hand is like with my sword to Ankarod's back, but the other hand is like grabbing like a needle at my belt, so he could maybe see that I'm already in the process of trying to attack. So that's how I'll be a little riskier.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's 3d6. Lose a d6 for reputations that hinder you. Untrustworthy, not applicable here. If this is unusually dangerous, yes. If you face this alone, no. Weeper is with you. Okay, so you roll me 2d6 here.
5.
Okay. You suffer a consequence, but you accomplish your task. Okay. So what happens is Rangvid begins to step forward. He has already dismissed you, Amos. He doesn't care about you. You're not the interesting one here. He's more curious about this prisoner. You see Rangvid lean forward, and in this closeness, Weeper, you can smell rot. And you realize that something falls off of him, and you're looking down, and you see a maggot hit the floor next to his boot. He leans in. What's this? An unusual marking on your face. I don't recognize this.
If I'm to be tortured and killed, am I at least allowed the graciousness of last words?
Perhaps, as long as they entertain me. You see, I am the great knight, Rangvid the Decrepit. You are given the great and distinct pleasure of being in my presence. You are so fortunate to have been found here at my camp. Speak your words, but be quick about it. I have a hunger that is difficult to sate.
I think you'll like them. It's a bit of a joke. See, a man spends his life feeding his excess at the cost of the food of the mouths of the people loyal to him. All that opulence, all that grandeur, and You want to know what happens to him at the end?
What is it, little one?
Same thing that happens to everybody else. I'd like to use a word, please.
All right. Okay. So we're gonna do this as a challenge here. The consequence here, if you fail, is that Rangvid will cause bodily harm to you. Okay. Let's build your dice pool. Do you want to invoke one of your reputations?
Yeah, I'm gonna use discreet.
Okay, discreet. Do you have equipment that will help you with this?
Well, my weapons and everything are hidden, and I look the part, so I don't look like I'm a threat.
Okay, yes, well, that counts. All right, do you want to make this risky?
Why am I like this? Yes.
Okay. How will you put yourself at risk here? If you fail, the threat for the quest will increase by 1.
Because what he's trying to do is to restrain and not kill. It's a little riskier than if he were just going for a kill shot.
Okay, I like it. All right, so that's going to be 3d6 here. Lose if you have a reputation that will hinder you. I don't think so. This is definitely dangerous, so we're going to bump it down to 2. You're not alone. So roll me 2d6, please.
Okie dokie, here we go. That is a 5 and a 6.
All right, you suffer no consequences and accomplish your task. Describe to me what happens.
Baller.
So the whole time he's telling the joke, what the knight doesn't realize is that frost is creeping up his leg. And eventually it's just going to stick him to the ground, and I would like a patch of ice to grow around his mouth and on his hands, just to keep him from raising the alarm. I'm basically trying to Sub-Zero him right now.
Absolutely. Nice. You hear a crackle, and in the closeness that he has with you, Weeper, you feel the air between you freeze. It is cold, like a snowy breath. And you hear the crackle of ice as it just forms across his mouth, and you can hear the sound of him breathing heavily as he's panicking but unable to move, as he's frozen temporarily in place. Amos, what do you want to do here?
I say, hell of a performance, friend, and I cut his bonds and just immediately start like taking all the de-armoring, essentially, and I pocket the perfume on the on the desk, and I think that I start the bonds that are on Angarod. I start tying up the arms of Rangvid.
Okay, yeah, so you begin to tie him up with no problem whatsoever. As this is happening, Weeper, do you want to respond as you are freed?
Yeah, I was just going to go, Amos, what is it they used to say about revenge?
So many people have said so many things about revenge in the last year alone, so you're gonna have to be a little bit more specific.
I was attempting to be funny. That's not my shtick. And I'm just gonna stab him with that spear.
Okay, very good. You stab him and he makes no sound. You hear the slice of it as it cuts through his armor. And we'll cut over to Deacon and Sidewinder. You can see that the general alarm seems to come down. The people that had your horses are beginning to lead them into the fort. They seem quite confused about what's going on. They haven't quite made it in yet, but they are definitely bringing the horses in. And you both have a very clear advantage. The top of the tower doesn't have a cover, so you see the sky above you. It's all open air.
Right now, there's not really much information we have about who to take out first, but if I hear any commotion from the tent, I guess I've got a plan. If you have if you can make your shot as fast as possible.
Need to ask.
Perfect. I wonder with my words. So there's like truth, lies. I think I would like to invoke. I'm trying to figure out how to use love. I think I think I'm gonna invoke love, and I think actually no. I think I'll invoke truth.
Okay.
And I think
I have
that
an idea if you want to hear it.
Yeah, please.
Okay, I think love could also be like loyalty.
Yeah.
And you could play with loyalty or an absence of loyalty.
Yeah. I think if I could, I think I would love to do I'll do love. And I think I would like to see where the veins of this fort lead to. Like, where does most of the loyalty lie here? And like, because I think if I can figure out where it goes and locate where, like, I can set up the shot for Sidewinder and possibly my friends. But yeah, I think I'm gonna invoke love.
Okay, this is great. You can describe to me what this looks like to you, but the information that you will get from this spell that you're using is that the love of the soldiers here do not lead towards the tent. It leads towards the food.
Okay. What is Sidewinder doing right now? I might try to loop my action into whatever he's doing.
Sidewinder is just sitting there at an elevated vantage point, and you are not sure how, but he seems to be just tracing the movement of the people down below with his rifle.
I think as you do that, I don't know how you're doing it, but it is like, I don't even know what the word is for it, but like when you zoom in on, when you've got like bifocals and you're zooming in on something and two separate visions come together, just like pink, white, and yellow lines come together, and as you're tracing people, it is creating like a focus for me, like a line, I don't even know, like a grid almost, mapping out who you're looking at, but then also tracing them to like where their eyes keep drifting the most, and like the smell, like an extreme, like extra like sniffs people are taking in, all of their senses, and where it's always drifting back to rather than going to their leader. And I think I'd like to have a magical effect happen.
Okay.
Of some sort. So my brain wants me to flip this place upside down. The entire tower. But I think the closest I can get is possibly lifting the food up, and those attached to it also, like having them pulled up by strings by this food as well, as it floats into the air.
Okay. I think this calls for a challenge.
It's true. Okay.
Okay.
I'm so scared.
This is going to be very dangerous because you're trying to do a large scale thing here. Yeah. So here's the consequence. If you fail in this challenge, they will know where you are. And the two of you are up on a very unstable tower. So you're in a very bad spot.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh. I look at Sidewinder and I say, I think I'm gonna pull a little strings. Pull a few strings, if you will.
Sidewinder just gives a little shrug and,
whatever it takes to ensure we get out in one piece.
Deacon makes exactly that face of like, this might not work. She is going to lift her hands out towards her, and turning these imaginary dials in space, flip this place upside down, starting with the food, pulling it up, and by almost like puppet strings, like it is the ventriloquist, it is going to pull all of its dummies up in the air as well.
Okay, all right. Let's do this. Do you want to invoke one of your reputations?
I do think I need to. I think this is absurd.
Okay, it really is.
Yeah. Or
Uh,
maybe this is reckless. I actually think this is reckless. I'll do reckless.
This is definitely
Yeah.
yeah, okay. Do you have equipment that will help you in this scenario?
Do I? Do I, folks? I don't think that I do.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't think so.
Do you want to make this risky?
For sure.
Okay. How do you put yourself at risk to succeed?
I'm standing right on the edge of this ledge.
Oh, I love
in order
it.
to make this happen.
Okay. Lose a d6 if you have a reputation that will hinder you. Yes.
Absurd, capable, reckless. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm gonna invoke your absurd.
Oh.
So it's gonna take that away from you.
Okay.
Oh, you have 0 right now. Okay. No, you have the 1 from risky. Is this
1.
dangerous? This is dangerous. And you're not alone. So this is gonna be 0 dice. But you get to roll 2 dice and take the lower one.
Oh, Stella, please. Okay, I'm gonna do this.
It's okay. It'll be fun, trust me.
I got a 3 and a 4.
Okay, so with a 3, you fail your task and suffer a consequence.
Oh.
Tell me how this all goes terribly wrong, but I will give Sidewinder a chance to do something about this before, like, all hell breaks loose.
All of the food lifts up into the sky, and I'm able to power it up, and I watch all of the people's eyes, like every single person's eyes, these knights, false knights, look up at the food and then see 2 hands and a pair of feet hanging off of the edge of this, like, ledge. And their eyes being on me is not something that I see, but it's something I feel. And it just takes the recklessness out of me. Like, it fully takes the recklessness out of me where I'm like, shoot, they weren't supposed to see me. They aren't supposed to. They're not allowed to see me. And that, like, those circles, those dials I twist in the air start getting heavy and start pushing backwards. And even though these dummies are, like, start to get pulled into the air, they drop immediately. So does all of the food all over the ground. And I try to step back from the ledge, but they've already seen me.
Sidewinder, I think you can tell just from the tension in the air around Deacon that something has gone terribly wrong. What do you want to do here?
Yeah, hearing the exhale, Sidewinder, without even asking, is just gonna and he's gonna shoot. But he's not gonna shoot at any of the individuals down below. He's gonna shoot beyond them, to the base of the ruined wall behind them, and dislodge a brick.
Okay, all right. Okay. All right. The challenge here, the consequence will be, if this fails, then... Okay. If this succeeds, the entire wall is going to collapse and just crush all of them, okay? If this fails, the tower below you is going to collapse.
Okay.
Oh, no.
Do you like it?
I love that, yeah.
All right. Do you want to invoke a reputation here?
Ill-fated?
Okay, I mean, it's ill-fated for them.
Maybe knowledgeable, I'm gonna say. I'm using my knowledge of, like, the general surrounding, and I know enough about architecture. I think this will work.
Okay, yeah, absolutely knowledgeable. From your past, you know all about forts and fortifications, you know?
No, absolutely, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, my time in the Cradle Peaks, yeah.
Knowledgeable, okay? You have equipment that will help you. You're using your gun. I think that counts. Do you want to make this even riskier?
Yeah, go on.
All right, describe to me how you're going to put yourself at risk.
I am going to, and this will tie into it potentially get backfiring on us. I am going to rest my very heavy weapon on a particularly rickety portion of the tower just to help steady my shot.
Okay. All right, so that's 3. Lose a d6 for any reputations that will hinder you. I'm going to go ahead and use that ill-fated now, so you're down to 2. Is this
Okay.
dangerous? It is very dangerous. I'm going to bump it down 1. But you're not alone, so you get 1 die.
Okay.
Oh no.
Good
5.
luck.
It's a 5.
5.
Oh.
Okay. You suffer a consequence, but you accomplish your task. All right. This is what happens. Deacon, since you have failed and you made it risky, the threat will increase by 1. The threat for this quest is now 9. Okay. Deacon, your spell fizzles out and you hear a shot go off as you see the bullet cut through the air and it catches the moonlight as it smashes into the wall behind them. There is a peal of surprise that comes from the soldiers below. They don't know what's going on, what the fuck is happening with the food, and then the wall suddenly collapses down, and you hear them screaming as they're all crushed below. And just as that happens, you also hear below you as the tower begins to crumble. And as it does, the 2 of you are thrown from the top. This is not a terribly tall tower. So the 2 of you will land to safety, but you have suffered some bodily harm from this fall.
Yeah.
Sidewinder, as best he can, as he's falling, sort of positions himself so that his back is going to hit the ground before his rifle does. He is cradling that weapon.
Okay.
Deacon lets whatever happen. Like, her body literally goes slack. Like, she's not afraid of this harm and this pain in this moment.
Both of you hit the ground and there is an explosion of your nerves. You feel every fiber of your being light up with pain. And it is at this moment that we cut over to Amos and the Weeper. The Weeper, you stab this false knight. You begin to hear some kind of commotion outside, and then a shot.
Well, I do believe that's our cue to leave.
Right behind you. Amos is fully de-knighted. He's like back in his garb. And he's ready to run out with you.
Alright, follow this way. I saw something pretty interesting on the way in.
Cool.
I would like to walk over to the fully barded and armored horse.
Okay, as you get closer to the horse, so you have to step outside the tent, and as you do, you bear witness to the wall crumbling down, and then like 10 people just instantly dying underneath the weight of the stone here. The horse is very rattled, and you realize as you go up to the horse, they are dressed immaculately in this barding, but you hear something slithering. Something wet. And you realize that there is an infestation of maggots all around the horse.
Actually have something for this. I would like to put my hands on the horses, like just on the side of his face and go, fella, you don't deserve that. And this might sting a little bit. And I would like to put just enough poison into the horse to get rid of the infestation.
Oh, I love it. Okay, you see falling off of the body of the horse just handfuls of maggots.
I hope that's better for you, friend.
The horse
Let's get
does
you-
seem to calm.
Let's get you somewhere proper. You don't mind riding, do you, Amos?
Not at all. Where are our friends?
Well, I imagine that they're the ones behind all the destruction and death that we didn't ourselves cause, so let's follow the ruckus.
Love that.
Deacon and Signwater, you're on the ground now.
Yeah.
In the fort, so yeah. They begin to head towards you.
Alright.
We gotta get out of here as fast as possible.
What? Amos pulls out like a little needle and he goes, "It's only going to take a second." And he says, "It's only going to hurt a little bit." And he pricks both of you and it's kind of like an anesthetic. It doesn't have to have like a game-bearing mechanic, but it just eases the pain. It's like a key ring almost, like a janitor's key ring, but he's got a bunch of different needles that have like little runes etched onto the top of each. And that one has kind of like a plus on it, like a little health plus on it. And he just like sticks both of you with it and he goes, "At least now you can run." And he like motions to like, let's get the hell out of here.
I can do the same as I always did, which is hobble.
Well, if it's all the same to you, Sidewinder, I think that this horse can carry it too.
Damn. She looks like a good girl.
And he just reaches out and sort of feels the muzzle and
Yeah, very good girl. All right.
Just gonna help him up.
Oh.
I'm sure
Thank
the
you
rest.
kindly.
I'm sure you two can make do. Meet by the horses.
Yeah, we'll meet you over there.
Full speed out of there.
All right. And from there, we'll cut to a short scene where the group of you have made your way safely out of Fort Creek, confident, absolutely, that you have taken out the false knight, Rangvid the Decrepit. We will award a showdown token for Weeper. That will be 3 total now. And there's a moment of respite here as you are sitting in a small dirt clearing amongst some dry, worthless grass. The horses are chewing away behind you and resting. You have your rations. You have a small moment of peace between the group of you before you follow the trail. You had found some notes in Rangvid the Decrepit's tent that mentioned the gourmand being feeling quite festivus, and they will be heading to the Violet Fields.
Say what you want about this gourmand character. He is quite the showman.
Y'all ever been to the Violet Fields before?
Not in any state that leave me capable of remembering.
I unfortunately should have been there. This will be my first time.
Deacon, you?
I don't think so.
You would know it if you had seen it.
Yeah. I will say that the ravens do not like those fields.
No living thing does.
How confident are we that we can upset this place?
How straight is your aim?
You know, every time I use my gun, that bullet goes exactly where it needs to go.
Well, then that's how I'm feeling.
I think that maybe I can aid to our confidence. And Amos takes out the perfume and he says, you know, I don't know how much time we have. I don't know if we'll be able to take out a giant kin, but I do know that we can smell damn good on the way there. And he like sprays himself twice and then he passes it to Deacon.
Catches it, sprays herself, passes it to Sidewinder.
Sidewinder immediately passes it on to Weaver. Just
Get that shit away from me.
Agaran will take it and then spray it on the new horse. And pass it back.
I say, it's far and few in between that we get to enjoy a luxury. And whether or not you want to enjoy that luxury is entirely up to you. I just think that with all the doom and gloom, sometimes the little things are something that we should indulge in.
Do agree everything matters. I mean, even if it's all coming to an end, I think it makes every single ounce of effort that we use matter even more. So, I mean, that's all we can really do is keep doing things to enjoy the end, right?
Exactly.
Figure there's only doom and gloom if you choose for it to be. Death is just as much a part of life as anything else, and we all gonna get there eventually. Might as well work on a hell of a story if you're gonna go out.
Yeah, and some of us are looking forward to the doom, actually.
Is it that obvious, Deacon?
You and I are old friends. I could see it a mile away.
Here, I thought myself a proper man of mystery.
Nothing's a mystery. Not these days.
You always seem to find a way to find the truth. Interesting.
Land is laid bare. Ain't no place for anybody to hide.
True.
Sorry, go ahead.
Go ahead, yeah.
Oh, I just wanted to ask Sidewinder, did you really kill a dragon?
Oh, here we go.
Well, I don't know. You deal in information. It seems like I might be able to use that for payment some other time. But I will give you this.
And he just flicks something across to you, glinting gold in the sunlight as it just lands in your palm. And you see that it is a cartridge from his rifle. And you see that carved round its edge, there is the design of a mountain and a knight atop it, and a large fire-breathing wyvern descending upon the knight. And the Sidewinder just leans back against a nearby rock, just stretches back like a cat and
Wake me when it's time to go.
I can keep this?
A memento for your first gun.
Wow. I'm cheesing. I'm cheesing. I'm in the corner cheesing.
I think I'll say to Sidewinder, Funny Boy is smiling real large, so you really did a very big kindness with that one.
That's good, because I'm afraid you won't be able to shoot for shit.
And Namos, let me give you a word of warning. Sidewinder will tell you straight up that he's going to rest. Don't say nothing you wouldn't want him to say while he's awake, is all I'll say.
You don't have to tell me twice.
Nice thing about having no eyes. No one can tell when you're awake. No one can tell when you're asleep.
That's true.
As the rest of you finish off your meals and pack up camp, you begin to head towards the Violet Fields. You see it coming miles and miles away. In this otherwise sandblasted wasteland, you come towards these rolling fields of violet roses. There is a strangeness in the air as you're making your way here. It is not lost on you the significance of this place. It is here that the king, Malavan, was slain at the Battle of Violet Fields by his traitorous brother, the Cannibal Saint, the man that you know as the enemy of mankind. But here you do not see throngs of creatures or soldiers in great number. Instead, you see a single being. They are a mountain of a person. As the sun begins to pull high in the sky, you feel beads of sweat beginning to form on your forehead. There's an intensity as they slowly turn to face towards you. You see that this individual, this half-giant warrior, they are holding over their shoulder a column of masonry. It seems as if they have ripped up a statue of some fallen knight, perhaps a lord of some forgotten time, and they hold it like a club. This statue could easily fell one of you in one swoop. The gourmand looks at you, Deacon. And they say,
"So, is it you who will challenge me?"
Is the last face you'll ever see.
Well, I have seen many faces, and I don't think yours will be the last.
I love proving people wrong. I heard you're a fan of decorum and tradition.
I do fancy myself some sport now and then. Some people might call it playing with your food.
Then I think we do this the way the old-fashioned wizards and gunslingers did it. We take our paces and we see who can kill who first.
The gourmand looks over at the three behind you. For narrative's sake, we'll say that they are a few paces in the background with horses at bay. The gourmand looks beyond you, Deacon, to them and says,
"So you will honor this."
These are my friends and confidants, and I have told them that this would be how I challenge you on this day.
Very well. If it is a showdown that you desire, it is a showdown you will get. I am feeling quite hungry.
Yeah, you are looking a little desperate, aren't you?
all right. We will move into the final phase of the session. The showdown. This is what marks the end of a quest. So we will now tally the number of showdown tokens that we have. We have 3. At the end of a quest, the cadre face their foe with weapons or words. Describe the foe and the threat they pose to myth. A single character is nominated to lead the efforts confronting the threat. There are no bonuses for their skills or their equipment. These are not in question during the confrontation. They should negotiate a cost, what they are prepared to lose while facing this threat, granting them a bonus between +1 to +5. So, the threat that the gourmand poses, this is an enemy that is already past the border. they are here in the Heartland, and they could make their way to Myth and lay devastation. This person easily towers over you, perhaps twofold even. Their shadow just completely engulfs you.
Yeah, I think Deacon looks unafraid, and you're not really sure. I think there is always, like, her friends would notice that there's sometimes a glaze that goes over her eyes before she's about to cast magic, or even just sometimes when her mind wanders. And nobody's really sure what that sight looks like. But if you were to peek through Deacon's eyes, there is something about the world. She sees that the world is a long string on an old sweater that she is able to pull and unravel, and she's willing to do whatever it takes to unravel. Okay. So I think she's not afraid because she sees the thread, and she's like, I just have to pull a little bit and it will fall apart.
Okay. All right, we have to determine the cost that we want here. Mm-hmm. So the target is going to be threat minus showdown. The threat is 9. The showdown is 3. So we have a target of 6. You have to roll just 1d6, and you get to add a bonus from the cost here. So you basically have to tell me what you're willing to lose in order to win. You only get 1 die in this showdown. No other bonuses. So examples of cost that we can play around with. We can play with reputation, permanently changing some of your reputations that you can invoke in the future. The loss or destruction of your allies, equipment, locations, or something important to you. Mm-hmm. Possibly gambling threat, which will make the doom ever more looming.
I'm going to be a little risky because it's the end of this thing. I think that the threat becomes... I think that the reason that Deacon is not afraid of the doom is because she knows that it either starts from her or it's like it starts from her. Like, it is a coin flip. It's like when you know that something's a 50% chance, that is a high percentage that it is you. And she has this overwhelming feeling that the doom will start with her. And it is high enough that it's like, it's either me or like one other person in the world. I don't know. So I think that my cost is that, like, if I lose here, the risk is that, like, I will lose myself and be the beacon for the doom to start in the Violet Fields, overtake my friends, and immediately, like, branch outwards from me.
Okay. I think this will be appropriately a +3. Nice. So essentially, people are fucked if you lose here. They are incredibly screwed. All right. Roll me a 1d6 +3. These are good chances.
I'm so scared. Okay.
If you roll a 1 or a 2, you lose the showdown.
6.
Okay, all right. It is more than the threat. You pay no cost, and you defeat the threat to save Myth. All right, so what happens here is...
Am I saying what happens?
I'll set it up, and then you can finish it.
Yeah, for
so
sure.
The two of you face each other. The gourmand says...
You weren't even close to the largest enemy that I've taken down. I've had people like you for breakfast.
10 paces. The two of you begin to step. Slow, deliberate. Deacon, you remember the last time you were in a duel. You remember back in school. A pivotal moment where you faced off a curse eater. What's going on through your head as you're stepping?
Flashes of a wild afro, flashes of like looking down at my shoes, flashes of looking at nature, and not even nature, but desert in front of me that replaces these violet fields. I think it is just a super cut of the final moments, also superimposed with like the hard moments of like having a mentor that knew they were carving. They had 2 blocks of stone and they were going to carve a statue, and only one was fit to be the statue. Like, only one was fit to be the paragon of their work. So like the hardest days mixed with like very soft, sweet moments we were able to find together. And I think there's the moment, like every step I take out, I'm also seeing my own steps moving forward back on that day. It's just like a super cut of like the last time I was here. And his words are morphing between his and the last curse eater I put down.
It's almost difficult to distinguish the two, the gourmand, the mage that was known as the faithful. You count the steps. 7, 8, 9, 10. You wheel around. As you turn to face them, you see the gourmand throws the statue at you. What happens?
I haven't lifted my gun. I have been seeing these violet fields all around me, and in my mind I'm thinking, God, wouldn't it be so wonderful to... would not it be so wonderful to be filled to the brim with something as beautiful and detrimental as this, and symbolic as this, and all of the color drains from the violets around us in a circle between us. And suddenly, like, this statue is headed towards me. I'm not moving. But I think past the statue, I just turn my head and violets start to pop out of his mouth, or their mouth. And I am literally going to just, like, have the flowers start from, like, this is so gross. So please tell me to stop. Start from the bottom of their feet and fill them with flowers, like, just absolutely almost exploding them insides out as this statue comes at me. And I think, if anything, I will sidestep it to the side, but I'll still take it to the shoulder or something. But, like, I'm just watching Gourmand become filled with these purple flowers, and violet and purple in general, and the color just seeps out to even my teammates, where I'm draining the color from these fields.
That's amazing. Yeah, there's a bloody mist as the gourmand literally explodes from the mass of flowers that erupt from them. And the three of you bear witness to the desaturation of the fields around you. Deacon, you take the head of the statue. It's kind of spinning on an axis as it's flying through the air. The head smashes into your shoulder. Your shoulder's definitely broken. You fall. You collapse, but you're not dead. The gourmand, no question, ended. How do the three of you respond?
Riding over there immediately on the horse.
I'm actually going to just kind of do a quick ride through to see if I can find that missing knight.
And as the others ride off, Sidewinder just sits on his horse and feels the breeze and remembers the last time he was in these fields. The day the king died and the day he lost his eyes. And he just rides on over slowly towards Deacon.
I suppose he had his fill.
Yeah. So funny. I would say, well, I don't want this to be offensive, but I do think his eyes were bigger than his stomach. Oh, I made Funny Man laugh. That's a first.
I just want to say that was beautiful work. What a bouquet on the stage of this magnificent play.
As the two
yeah,
of
go ahead.
you join Deacon, you help Deacon up. Arm is limp, just completely destroyed here. Nothing that a little bit of magic can't help, but not necessarily available to you right now. Angrad, the Weeper, you ride. You search around the area, trying to see any signs of Sir Catherine the Tall. You find, eventually, a mound of bones. These are all entwined. It is impossible to tell who they belong to, but you find that there's also a pile of discarded belongings, and among them is a sword. And it bears the symbol of the king. You know this to belong only to a commander. It is so illustriously engraved.
Pick it up and strap it to my back, hop on the horse, and reconvene with my friends.
All right. Congratulations. You have kept the threat at bay and saved Myth for now. We will end our story here today with a small epilogue for each of the characters. There is a quick scene as the group of you ride back to the border forts, and you are able to present evidence that you have felled these foul beings. And for at least one more night, the people of Myth are safe. With our epilogue, where do we see Amos the Rumor?
It's a good question. I think he's making his way through Myth in the shadows at night, flipping around the patches on his outfit to make him look more like a noble. And he enters the palace through a way only he knows, a couple cobblestones, a very Diagon Alley kind of dealio. And I think that the scene is inaudible, but you see him conversing with the queen. And as he does, he pulls out a flower, the same flowers that were on the violet fields. And you just see like kind of like a description of like how Deacon felled the gourmand. And then
is it a violet rose or is it a desaturated rose?
It's a desaturated rose. And then he pulls out the perfume and gives it to her. And that's the end of the scene.
I love it. Where do we see the Sidewinder?
It's kind of dependent on what Deacon does.
Okay.
Yeah.
We'll head on over to the Weeper then.
I think you find the Weeper finding another group of people who like to consume nuggies. Like there's a little cabal, and then you just see a breeze of cold air, and the lights go out, and you just hear, "Lo, for all that is lost shall be found." And then that's just where his epilogue ends.
I love it. Deacon.
I do think Deacon hasn't traveled without the Sidewinder. I don't know when they met, but I think that there's just like we do not go places without each other, just because there's a part of me that needs to cling to someone who is a part of the physical realm that can kind of see the magical realm. And I'm sure there's some inverse thing there as well. But I think there is just, oh gosh, I feel like Deacon spends the rest of her days kind of finding the rest of her friends, seeing them where they are, but also just taking on those missions where Sidewinder can do the long range thing and Deacon can make things as absurd as humanly possible. And I think that she lets her shoulder heal back kind of crooked. Like, I think she heals it a little bit, just a little bit, and then lets it heal back crooked. But yeah, I don't know. What is Sidewinder doing?
Sidewinder watches your healing and, mostly silent over the following days, but, occasionally the odd wry comment. But as it begins to set and heal, crooked though it may be, Sidewinder looks across at you and...
How's the arm?
It hurts a little bit, but I'm sure that'll be pretty constant.
Still dependable enough for me to lean on?
Always. It's my left arm. I'll just give you my right.
Sounds good. I've been listening. I hear there someone to the north called himself the Corpse Grinder. Fancy it?
Yeah, that seems like someone that needs a little bit of humbling from us too, don't you think?
A little bit of absurdity.
Hold out an
Sun
arm.
is setting. We should probably make a move.
Yeah, I will hold out an arm.
Think you can.
He's going to get up on his horse and, waiting for Deacon, is just going to ride off in the direction of the sunset.
All right. I think to button up the session, it would be really fun to... This isn't necessarily part of the rules, but I'm just taking some liberties here. I think it'd be fun to mark that the events of this bloody experience the group of you had, that it's changed you in some small way. I would like to give each of you a reputation you can change. For Amos, I would like to give you the connected reputation. So you can replace any one of yours with connected. For Weeper, I would like to give you boundless.
Weeper is going to replace unprincipled, and to symbolize this, he is using the sword of that night.
That is so cool. You have to come up with a name for this sword.
Oh, you do.
Deacon, the reputation I would like to give you is explosive.
Oh my gosh. I think I'll switch reckless with explosive. So I keep absurdity and I keep my capability. But instead of just doing whatever, I now can lean on myself and create I can't do tiny magic anymore. It's got to be big.
Okay. I love it. Okay, Sidewinder. My first thought was giving you experienced, but I think what might be more fun is fine-tuned.
Fine-tuned. I think that might replace unprincipled. I think.
Okay.
Mature together.
Excellent. Thank you so much, everyone, for... Oh, yes, go ahead.
I thought of a name for the sword. You put the glasses on at the perfect time, Lex. The sword's name is Inevitable.
Oh!
Of course it is!
This guy.
My brain explodes. In the game, my brain explodes.
Hey! Thank you so much, everyone, for being here. Very much appreciate it. If you have not already, please check out the Kickstarter. It will end here in a few days, so please head on over there. Check out the awesome add-ons. I have myself picked up the brass bullet-shaped dice. They are super freaking cool. Cannot wait to see them. But before we end the night, I would love to reintroduce everyone at the table. So please tell me who you are, where we can find you, and what your favorite or one of your favorite parts of the episode was. And we're going to go ahead and start with Lexi.
Oh my goodness. My name is Lexi, otherwise known as the Black Girl Mage. I was your Deacon the Unraveler tonight. And, you know, you can find me on Twitter and Twitch under that same exact name, where I DM, GM, and all of the things in between. My favorite moment was when my hat just fell off. My favorite moment, it has to be the moment between Rangvid and Angarad and Amos. Like, the dialogue there. Amos being very nervous but very convincing, and Angarad being like, I'm on the end of my life anyway, leave me some dignity, was what? It was amazing. So, absolutely my favorite part.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Ed!
I am Ed. You can find me on Twitter at Edward_Spence_. I'm going to be GMing a brand new campaign this Tuesday. It's Spielbergian, very Stranger Things, lots of 80s synth music. It's going to be great, and it's a fantastic cast that I have to try very hard to live up to. My favorite part of this evening, because it is evening here, it's not, it's morning. You know when you just sit down at a table, virtual or otherwise, and within the first, like, it's like watching a good film, like, you know immediately, like, whether you're going to vibe with it or not, and, like, honestly, like, I mean, look at these people, look at them. This has been so great. You're all amazing, and yeah, let's do this again sometime. It's been great.
What was your favorite part?
My favorite part, I mean, any of the Weeper's sermons. Any time Amos was using his mask to aim through things. All of the moments where Deacon was just like casting magic, and the way you described it, and Stella, just like the way you brought this stark and barren world to life, just amazing. All of it. Amazing.
Thank you. We'll hop on over to Andrew now.
+1 reblog, retweet, all that stuff. Great job. My name is Andrew. You can find me on Twitter as @HotGoof. Everywhere else, I'm @DiscoSludge. I'm an amateur game designer with my better half, Gerald Lane, who you can find as Stardozer on Instagram. And our collective thing is called Nighthouse Company, Nighthouse Co. I'm saying a lot of things right now. I will get a better integrated circular presence online soon, I promise. My favorite part was probably the showdown. I know that that's like kind of like a cheat answer, but the whole like Kurama way that Deacon dealt with the Gourmand was really cool. And also just, I don't know, the whole game itself lends itself to so many cool and amazing moments. I'm absolutely backing this one. You should back it too. What a setting, what a system, so evocative. Loved every moment of it.
If it's okay to put you on blast, I believe this was your first streamed TTRPG. Thank you so much. You are absolutely wonderful. How did it feel? Did you have a good time?
I had a great time. I was incredibly nervous. I've been playing TTRPGs for a very, very, very long time, and I've always wanted to do something like this. So thank you for like putting this together. Like, I had an amazing time, and I want to do it more often. So I'm glad that I didn't flub and I was able to contribute, because everybody else here is so talented. Noir's like sermons and like monologues were like unreal. I had a fantastic time. So yeah, amazing experience, A+. Cannot wait to do it again.
It was absolutely wonderful to have you. You were a heckin' natural. Can't wait to have you at more tables. Thank you so much. And we'll pop on over to Noir.
Hello, I'm Noir, they. You can find me all over the internet as The Noir Enigma. That's Twitter, Tweet, YouTube, TikTok, and Instagram. And check out my website, The Noir Enigma. I have merch there. Help me, I'm poor. I cannot tell you how much I just enjoyed the chemistry. Like, seriously, within the first 5 minutes, I was just like, oh, I'm going to enjoy all of this. we're the reverse Four Horsemen, y'all. Like, did anybody else feel that? Like,
Whoa.
we're bringing the apocalypse, we're stopping it. And like everybody kind of plays close to a theme in the Four Horsemen of the Apocalypse. So I don't know if we did that on purpose, but I'm like, oh, this is sweet. As for my favorite part, it's hard because I really like Deacon and Sidewinder's partnership. Like just the way they work together. I like the way Agaran and Amos ended up working together, and like we split off and did our own thing, but when we were in unit, it still worked. I want more of this so we can see what other partnerships. Like, I just want more. This is so good. All right, I'm gonna stop talking now. I'm gushing.
Thank you so much. If you have enjoyed this episode of Inevitable, the game that we played today is actually literally the Kickstart. It is available for free if you check out the Kickstarter. Sorry, I said Kickstart. Quick Start. Yeah, so you can play this and you can see all the information. It's all available there on the Kickstarter. Check it out. It's really, really freaking cool and has a bunch of information to help you set up as a GM. Getting all of this together was incredibly easy for me. And it is a very elegant system, not too crunchy. And it's very narratively driven. It leans to a lot of possibility. So please check it out. It's so freaking cool. I'm Stella Luna. You can find me at Stella Luna here on Twitch, Stella Luna TV on all other social media. I'm a TTRPG producer and performer. And if you like this kind of stuff, please consider giving us a follow. That is a free way that you can support the channel and get notifications for when we go live. That's going to be it for us today. Thank you so much for being here, everybody. Bye! Wait, we got it. Let's end on a yeehaw. 1, 2, 3.
Yeehaw!
Bye, everybody!